I think it's always valuable to be by yourself. I think in the context of I just broke up with somebody.
Or just in the context of like somehow being by myself is going to make me better in my next relationship.
It depends on what the issues were in your relationship, I guess. But if you...
I can't think of any issue right now that would somehow be improved.
Of yours.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Same with me. Obviously, that's why we have this crazy theory. But... Okay.
Hi, everyone.
We're not addressing the camera.
We're not?
I don't think so.
Well, I feel like we should do an introduction. These people have no idea what...
It doesn't matter.
We're not going to be like, hi, we've, been together for 15 years successfully, and that's why we feel you should listen to our advice.
No, we'll just start with talking, I think.
Okay. Did you want to talk about the fallacy of people thinking that they need to be on their own whenever a relationship
I've lost the thread on that, so not really.
Oh, okay. Well, like I think I think it would be a good topic to talk about. Like I think it's awkward not to look at the camera.
I agree, but I don't know.
So do we maybe want to try a little bit of both? And
I just don't like the hey everybody.
No, the hey everybody is horrendous. It's closed.
No, I know, but then he's gonna keep floating around all night. These fucking fruit flies.
We're dealing with fruit flies. I think that not.
What was that for?
For the audience.
Oh, okay.
Like I feel people come to us very often with random relationship questions or advice or just general like, how do you guys make it work? And I don't think that it's really appropriate to judge one relationship against another because you never know what's going on inside of it. But and I'm not really even confident that the people we've given advice are better off now. But right. I think I enjoy giving the advice. I think and talking to other people about why we work helps us work even better.
Absolutely. So
this is really all just completely, I think it's going to make us better, and if it helps someone else, great.
Yeah, that's my thinking about it too. So I think what we were supposed to do before we started doing this was have some sort of topics that we can call back to. Some kind of topics that can actually keep us on some kind of...
Right. I mean, the topic, and I can refresh you on what the...
No, I remember the fallacy of being alone, or I need to figure out some time to do it myself, and that had like a timeliness when we were thinking about it. I guess it could just be a topic.
I think it's something that people do all the time. I think we've had friends personally, but I think you hear this a lot where people either are at the end of a relationship and the breakup's not great, and they're
right.
like, I clearly need to be by myself, and if I need to figure myself out. Or they're not able to find a relationship that they like, and then they, that's their conclusion is that they need to be on their own. And I don't think that's necessarily always the wrong approach. I think that there's definitely value to being comfortable being with yourself, but I don't think it is at all true that learning how to be with yourself is somehow going to make you better at being in a relationship.
No, because you're giving up all the compromise that you would have in a relationship by just dealing with yourself. I mean, you don't want to compromise with yourself.
Exactly.
Unless you're schizophrenic or something, but for the most part, you're pretty good with yourself and whatever yourself wants to do on a day-to-day basis.
Even if, well, I mean, I could probably argue with that actually, but even if you're schizophrenic, you need to, everybody's calling us right now, it's hilarious. Yeah. Even if you're schizophrenic, you still only have to deal with your multiple whatever issues within yourself. Like you still need to learn, yeah.
Right, and every relationship is figuring out how to compromise and deal with someone else's issues along with your own. And if just like being in a relationship with one person isn't good training for being in a relationship with a different person.
Exactly, yeah. I think that's the key. I think you need to sort of consider that every time you're in a relationship, and not just in a romantic one, but in a relationship of any kind, it's a new ballgame. Like you need to learn new issues that the other person might have. You need to learn new issues that you would have with them.
Right.
Because they can set you off in ways that you didn't even know you had triggers. So I think there's value in spending time with yourself if you don't know yourself very well.
Well, what does that mean though? I mean, like I think other people sort of help enlighten you
to who you are.
To who you are. So
that's absolutely true.
So I'm not sure that. I mean, when you figure out on your own, I think what you end up doing is sort of people will come up with excuses or reasons to be the way they are or
That's
to make
true.
the choices they
They
make.
like to
So,
dig in their heels.
right. So you're basically kind of creating your own sort of inflexibility construct by just dealing with yourself.
It's true.
Chances are you're not going to push yourself to go do things that are uncomfortable unless you have a lot of willpower. So.
But then if you have that willpower would exist within the relationship too. So it wouldn't
Right.
really be like you don't. Okay, so are we being? I guess what I'm asking is, I agree with you, but do you think we're being dismissive? Like, do you think there's like
The
no
hermits
value?
and whatnot.
Yeah, fuck the hermits. No, I mean, or do you think we're being dismissive of that as something that's valuable? Like,
I think it's
in
always
that
valuable to be by
context.
yourself. I think in the context of I just broke up with somebody.
Or just in the
And-
context of like somehow being by myself is going to make me better in my next relationship.
It depends on what the issues were in your relationship, I guess. But if you
I can't think of any issue right now that would somehow be improved.
of yours,
Yeah.
no,
I mean,
for sure.
but-
Same
yeah.
with me. Obviously, that's why we have this crazy theory. But I think a normal person who has had argument after argument with somebody about something that they haven't been able to deal with each other. I think at the end of that, you might need to clarify about what the reason of that relationship dissolving actually was, so that sort of like.
I mean, you're saying the relationship can be a distraction from
Right.
looking at what you're doing wrong, potentially.
Well, if you leave a broken relationship, you usually have a lot of. There's a lot of kind of built up aggression over time or spite over time
Mhm.
that you could be cloudy as to why that was
That's
even
true.
there. So that sort of alone time, that decompression after a relationship could be helpful in realizing
That's
what
true.
was actually going on, whether
But
it was about
that's-
you or about them. I think in the heat of that, and even in the heat of the relationship before it ends, neither one kind of really knows what the fuck is going on. They just feel a bunch of shit.
Yes.
And
And
wanna-
it's,
and
it's,
wanna
a very,
fail.
it's like a whirlwind of.
Right. So that
Wait.
kind of time to figure out how to be by yourself could be code for, I don't know what just happened in my life for the last 6 months. I needed to break
That's
that
true.
down.
That
And that can be helpful.
Yes.
But especially by yourself, if you jump into another relationship.
Then you're really
That's-
kind of masking.
Right.
Like you're. It's sort of like a. That's what they call the rebounds, and this way they don't work
Right.
is because you're just masking whatever pain you need to be dealing with or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's a distraction. Yeah.
It's a distraction, yeah.
Right.
Huh, that's a good point. Maybe that's what people mean.
Well,
I don't know.
I think there's kind of the big self-help movement kind of idea of,
You're good
really-
enough
really digging
as you
in.
are. and-
yeah, you're good enough as you are. You got to really learn how to be good with that and not need another person. I think it's kind of like
That I agree with 100%.
it's a bad foot to get off on. Like you don't really want to talk yourself into not needing other people. Then you're not going to be very flexible with other
Well,
people.
and also, I don't think, I just don't think it's true. I think we definitely need other people. Like, I'm sure that there's people out there who are happy being by themselves. I think there's maybe like 5 of them, and the rest of everybody else needs to be
Well,
around
there's
other
probably
human
more.
beings to some degree.
Probably some higher percentage, like maybe 5% of all humans can be
Okay.
by themselves and are
Sure.
happy that way. But,
My point is, you need some kind of connection, and people, I'm sure, need different degrees of connection. Like, I think you and I are clearly on the scale of like needing connection all the time. Because we spend so much time around each other.
well, even though we spend so much time around each other,
We disconnect sometimes.
we disconnect sometimes, and then we still need other human involvement. Like one person can't ever take
Absolutely, that's true.
that
Yeah.
sort of need, fill that need. So
So, I mean, I think, but when people say I want to be by myself, I don't think they're like, I want to go live in a cave. I think they mean I'm not
no,
going to be in a
they
relationship.
want that 6 to 8 hours of the day where they don't have to worry about someone else's needs, where they
Yes.
can just be comfortable in the dark or whatever.
It's like a fear of, I really think at the root of the whole I need to be by myself, it's this sort of having realized that you've lost someone or haven't found someone, and like it's running away from owning that fear of like, I really want someone. So you're like, it's almost like a sour grapes thing of like, nope, I need to figure out how to be by myself, and I can be okay without another human being, because the idea that I need another human being, but I can't get another human being to stay with me, is terrifying. But you
Right.
you kind of need to commit to the sense that you need that, you want that, just like everything else in life.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the same sort of like kind of poisonous messaging that makes people think that they should be their only thing and they should be comfortable by themselves. They don't need
Yes.
other people. Also, kind of tells them that being in a relationship, codependency is a bad thing, and
Right.
then kind of shames everyone for being
Yeah.
the way they are, or
Yeah.
assumes that things are unhealthy before they assume that they're healthy. So everyone has this sort of like short-circuited idea of their own relationships with people.
Yeah.
Kind of these weird like second guessing what actually makes them happy and if what they're doing is healthy at all times, right?
Right.
Like that everybody kind of has that. And in a
Yeah.
relationship and especially in a relationship that's not working for whatever reason, it can be kind of compounded.
Well, I think in any new relationship where you're still trying to figure out how to make it work, it's almost like a guarantee that if you have that mindset where you're constantly checking, oh, is it healthy? Is it healthy? Like you're gonna make sure that you're gonna see everything as unhealthy.
Absolutely.
Like you have to kind
Yeah.
of, and I get that. I mean, I think it's a backlash to the way people used to have relationships, which was like, that's it, you're in it. Like deal with the fact that there's abuse or like. I mean, I understand where that comes from, the sort of need to protect yourself.
Right.
But I think
Well, need to
when you
protect
take it
yourself
too
as
far,
an
you're
emotion.
hurting yourself in a different way.
Well, I think everyone should have that gut check and need to defend themselves as a personal emotion. But I think the idea that everyone needs to defend other people against whatever their tormentors are, like everyone has to step in and say, well, he's not treating you right,
Right.
or this relationship seems pretty codependent, or
Yeah,
whatever.
those people are not helpful
Right.
in that they're not helping.
Somehow that sort of like kind of personal check or that personal policing of your emotions and your relationship status has become everyone's business, and it's kind of a
That's
societal
true.
kind of
I
poison.
think there's a lot of value to like, again, like this is the way things used to be, especially for. I mean, this is stereotyping a little bit, but especially for women, like if you were essentially in a relationship that was not working for you, or was abusive, like you were kind of stuck in it, and it was very much, I think, considered that nobody else's business. Like you couldn't go
Right.
and complain, and without being told, it's your life. Like deal
Right.
with it. Like don't you're not supposed to talk about your husband that way. It's
Right,
sort of like
right.
a private matter. So
Right. And not one generation later, it's completely fair game to
well, I would say it's
conjecture.
taken a lot of generations. I think it's part of why this is such a strong. I think there's a good reason.
Well,
why
there's a lot of
this is such
generations
strong-
where that behavior was the norm, and I
Right.
think we're sort of in the first generation. I mean, even my parents were in the
Yeah,
generation where,
absolutely.
where it was
My
no one
parents
else's
were
business.
absolutely like, no.
You have a lot of people of this generation even still kind of with that like gut check of it's not your business or it's not anyone's business what's going on, even though there's this kind of radical like kind of wave in the opposite direction of everyone kind of being into people's business.
Maybe that's like part of what's happening is that people feel the need. I know this happens to me in different contexts, but like it's almost like the emotion of wanting to talk about something. There's like so much sort of resistance and kind of guilt there.
Right.
That in order for you to be comfortable reaching out and saying, "Hey, I need help sorting this out,"
Yeah.
you need to you need to make it worse sounding than it is. And your friend, in order for you to sort of help you feel okay about talking about it, they need to make it sound worse. And so like you both
You're just like hyperbolizing everything. that's going
hyperbolize
on.
everything, yeah. Because we can't just be like, "Hey, I'm kind of not sure. Let's talk through it and let's not demonize anybody." Like that almost never happens.
Well, it's funny that people feel this need to kind of up the game that way because I think just naturally by talking about those kinds of things, they could sort of snowball naturally without it.
Because you say something out loud, it makes it real.
Yeah, it makes it real, and then you just kind of sort of feed that idea and feed
But
that
sometimes
topic.
I think you say something out loud and you hear yourself and you're
That
like,
could be.
okay, maybe.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That happens as well.
Like it's almost never happened to me that I've talked to a friend, and obviously I'm in a functioning relationship, so maybe I don't have a point of reference, but it's a handful of times when I've tried
Well, you
to
do have
talk
a
to
point of
everyone.
reference. I mean, we went through a pretty big
That's true.
spell where
That's the truth. I mean, I remember with my ex, I went through kind of a difficult time, and I talked to someone, and she happened to be right, but at the time it was also very like not. She was so extreme in her response in defending me.
right.
She was basically like, you just got to break up with him, blah, 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 that I actually couldn't take her advice because I wasn't ready to hear that.
Right.
And it was just, but it definitely kind of destroyed my
poisoned the
ability
well,
to be, I think
Not with your ex, but it poisoned the well with that.
with her.
Oh,
I couldn't be
interesting.
friends with her anymore. Not because I wanted to stick with him, but it just was sort of like I felt
It wasn't a
at
very.
that point I felt obligated to her to break up with him. I felt
Oh,
like I
interesting.
couldn't still be friends with her because she
Sure.
was judging me.
Right.
I couldn't even be like, listen, I
She kind of said
published
too
it.
much, and it
Yeah.
seemed like she was a little bit too insightful as to what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's another completely kind of different angle on it. But like when you're, as a friend, if you're giving someone advice and you're
Maybe don't make them feel guilty or whatever.
like make them feel like it's still their choice and you're still
Sure.
going to be their friend, even if they stick with, you know, the person you think is a loser or an abuser or whatever. Like
Right.
it's their choice at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you need to, they still need to feel like you're going to be there for them. Otherwise, that's how you end up in a relationship.
Yeah, you certainly need to approach that conversation with a little bit of finesse
Yeah.
and know when to kind of back down from your opinion.
That's not something I'm very good at personally. Yeah.
I don't know, but I think most people, it's kind of a difficult thing
Yeah.
to figure out that balance. Or there's a level of empathy that you need to read the other person as you're helping them.
Well, I think people read it as women, and men probably too, read it as loyalty. Like, I'm
No,
your
absolutely,
friend,
yeah.
therefore I'm
That's the
gonna-
default mode, kind of,
Yeah.
especially in sort of like defensive modern society, where you need to really like go to bat for that person and not give devil's advocate advice. Otherwise, you know, you're a Judas or something.
Yeah.
It's really difficult when you're kind of going through that stuff to like.
You
And
don't
you
want.
can see like when we try to give people advice that are going through that like it's just not hitting. Like there's no comprehension of what's being said.
It's true.
I just don't think I think it's incredibly difficult to give people advice.
I think nobody wants to, like, this is interesting that we're doing this. We're realizing this on our first podcast.
Well, we're not talking directly at someone that's going through some
True.
shit. So
you're right.
hopefully,
Yeah, like, don't listen
hopefully
to
these
anything
things-
we have to say.
well, that's cool.
I'm just
Don't really
saying, I think the lesson here, when you're helping someone who's going through a difficult time, is really to reflect back to them as much as possible and not
Yeah.
necessarily give your opinion. Like, you cannot inject your opinion because
Yeah.
it'll either make things worse or they're just not going to hear it.
Right.
If
Right.
it's more level than. But I think it's very different. So, like, when you listen to other advice columns and you're listening to advice that is being given to other people but not to you.
Oh, that's a lot easier to hear.
It
That's
is
why
so much
that
easier
shit
to
is so
hear.
popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there
Absolutely.
you're like, wait, this reminds me of what happened.
Yeah.
You know.
Right,
So
right.
I think that's this is why this is good,
Yeah, I think
because
so.
we're not giving it. We're not talking to you.
No, fuck you. We're talking to each other.
It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty good. See you guys.